It would be the day during the Battle of Britain that would produce the biggest losses for both sides, with 3 major aerial assaults flown by the Luftwaffe against the defending Royal Air Force. It was a defining battle of the Second World War. It's Sunday, August 18th, 1940, 2 months since the desperate retreat of the British Expeditionary Force at Dunkirk. The British Army has lost much of its equipment and armour, abandoned in France during the evacuation. Germany occupies northern France, and the High Command believe they need to defeat Britain before they can safely turn their attention towards the USSR in the east. Reich Marshal Goering, Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe, knows he will need to destroy the RAF to gain air superiority over southern England and the Channel, to allow the invasion of Britain, Operation Sea Lion, to be attempted. Luftwaffe attacks on Britain have been intensifying since July, and on this day, the Luftwaffe would make an all-out attempt to destroy the RAF's fighter command. It would become known as the hardest day. Beginning at sunrise and continuing throughout the early morning, German reconnaissance and weather aircraft have been flying routes around the Channel and the south of England. The first main assault had been due to embark at approximately 9 AM, but was postponed due to insufficient weather conditions over the targets. Most recon flights passed uneventfully. Elements of some RAF squadrons are scrambled to intercept, but the harassing German recon aircraft escape unscathed, with one exception. At just after 11 AM, a Bf-110 on a high-level reconnaissance mission crosses the English coastline, having been monitored by radars of the home chain. This information is passed through the RAF command and control system, known as the Dowding system, and 5 Spitfires of 54 Squadron are scrambled from RAF Hornchurch. Bf-110 turns northeast over the Thames estuary, believing to be at too high an altitude to be intercepted. The fighters are vectored to the interception by sector controllers and engage the lone aircraft. A long diving chase towards the French coast ensues, and the German aircraft eventually crashes into the sea near Calais at 11:30. The German plan for the midday assault is ambitious. 3 bomber formations are to hit RAF Kenley, a fighter command airfield, from different directions and height within a few minutes of each other. The first is to be the 12 Junkers Ju-88s of the 2nd Staffel of KG-76, which are to dive bomb the hangars of RAF Kenley from high altitude. Shortly after, the 27 Dornier Do-17s of the 1st and 3rd Staffels of KG-76 will level bomb from high altitude the runways and landing areas. Finally, 9 Do-17s of the 9th Staffel KG-76, a specialist low-level strike unit, will follow a longer southwesterly route into the target at very low level, and precision bomb whichever airfield targets were left standing after the first and second waves. Following KG-76 are to be the 60 Heinkel HE-111s of KG-1, whose target is Fighter Command Airfield RAF Biggin Hill. All bomber formations, except for the specialist low-level unit, are to be accompanied by a close fighter escort, with another separate fighter group sweeping the airspace ahead in a free hunt bomb to clear the path of RAF fighters before the main force arrives. At 12:10 PM, the formations of Ju-88s and Do-17s of KG-76 are attempting to form up with their fighter escorts over Calais. Dense cloud is delaying the rendezvous. The Do-17s finally turn west with their Bf-110 fighter escort 6 minutes late. The Ju-88s follow some miles behind. The Ju-88 should be leading the formation, so as to allow them to clearly spot and precision bomb Kenley's hangars on arrival, but the confusion has cost them their position. The rendezvous between KG-1's HE-111s and their Bf-109 escorts is achieved without difficulty, and they turn west towards Biggin Hill. Meanwhile, British radar is picking up the formation massing over the Channel. Within minutes, the RAF's underground control bunker at RAF Uxbridge scrambles 5 fighter squadrons, totaling 17 Spitfires and 36 Hurricanes, to patrol Canterbury and Margate, and a further 4 squadrons, totaling 23 Spitfires and 27 Hurricanes, to orbit and defend Kenley and Biggin Hill themselves. The initial RAF response totals 97 fighter aircraft, to meet the 108 bomber and 150 fighter aircraft of the Luftwaffe attack. Soon after crossing the English coast, a 109 in the free hunting fighter group spots 501 Squadron Hurricanes climbing below. The pilot turns and dives on the defenders, shooting down 4 Hurricanes. Debris from the 4th damages the 109, forcing the pilot to bail out. The squadrons defending Biggin Hill and Kenley spot the enormous armada of aircraft heading towards them, and continue to climb, desperately trying to gain height in order to perform a head-on attack on the bomber formation. 111 Squadron, who are just scrambling from Croydon, are the only squadron to spot the low-level flying bomber unit approaching from the south towards Kenley and manoeuvre to attack. The lead low-level DO-17 pilot doesn't see any smoke rising at Kenley and realises that their group will be the first to attack the airfield instead of the last. As they drop their bombs on the hangars, the Hurricanes of 111 Squadron tear into them. Through the melee of aircraft around them, the high-altitude DO-17s spot the runway of Kenley and drop their bombs. By the time the dive-bombing Ju-88s arrive, Kenley is clouded by smoke the first two waves, rendering a precision strike on the hangars impossible. The flight commander decides instead to attack the secondary target of West Malling, 20 miles to the east. The Heinkel's of KG-1 are on their final bomb run on Biggin Hill. 610 Squadron Spitfires are struggling to break through the 109 fighter escort to deal damage to the bombers. The Heinkel's release their bombs and turn for home unchallenged. After dropping their ordnance on West Malling, the Ju-88s also finally turn southeast to make the desperate escape home. Meanwhile, the RAF squadron scramble to patrol Canterbury and Margate, lie in wait over the German route home. Group controllers order the squadrons to fan out over Kent to increase the chance of engaging the enemy formations. Spitfires and Hurricanes hit the retreating formations hard all over Kent and into the English Channel. At 1:50, the RAF are gradually returning to base to refuel and rearm. 90 miles to the southwest of the withdrawing German forces, a long-range German reconnaissance aircraft has been feeding intelligence back to a new formation of raiders massing over Cherbourg. Juncker's Ju-87 Stuka dive bombers take off. They rendezvous to the east of Cherbourg into 4 flights, totaling 109 dive bombers, and turn towards England. 157 Bf-109s from JG-27 and JG-53 are to provide close escort. Another 55 109s have taken off from Le Havre and will independently sweep alongside the main formation to attempt to clear the sky of RAF fighters. The Stukas will split east of the Isle of Wight and precision bomb different targets: RAF Gosport, RAF Thorney Island, RAF Fours, and radar station Polling. Polling detects the enemy formations. 6 squadrons of fighters are scrambled from 5 airfields across the south coast. The defenders total 68, made up of Hurricanes and Spitfires against the raiding force of 300 aircraft crossing the channel. The Stuka groups attacking Gosport, Ford and Polling reach their targets avoiding the defending fighters, who are being forced into combat with their 109 escorts. However, numbers 43 and 601 squadrons rip into the 4th Stuka formation on its run into Thorney Island, shooting down 6 in the space of 2 minutes. All 4 targets are hit, but the most devastating strike is on RAF Ford, where the bombers are free to identify and prosecute their targets without pressure. Bombs are dropped at RAF Station Polling with precision. The Stukas are slow, and the Hurricanes and Spitfires are mauling them in numbers as they make the turn for home. A widespread and confused melee breaks out over the sea to the south of Thorney Island, and the defending fighters punish the raiders. The 109 escorts are desperately trying to counterattack the merciless attacks on their bombers, but the Spitfires are proving a dangerous aerial combat adversary. The single rear gunners on the Stukas are no match for the lethal gun platform and ruggedness of the Hurricanes. When the slaughter ends, 15 Stukas have been destroyed, with a further 7 damaged beyond repair. 8 Bf-109s have also been destroyed, bringing the total Luftwaffe loss for the raid to 30 aircraft. The RAF lost 5 fighters. The radar station at Polling has been degraded. The long-range high-altitude radar has been disabled, but the low-level short-range scanner remained in operation. A temporary mobile station was set up on the Isle of Wight while repairs could be made at Polling. The RAF considered this nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Thanks to the concentrated effort of the 2 squadrons on the Stukas attacking Thorney Island, the airfield gets off comparatively lightly. 2 hangars have been levelled and 3 Coastal Command light aircraft have been destroyed. Gosport hasn't survived unscathed. Several buildings are destroyed, 4 aircraft destroyed and 5 damaged. Ford has taken the worst beating. The Luftwaffe has hit the airfield believing it to be a fighter command airfield. However, it is currently being used by Coastal Command by naval bombers. 28 people are killed on the ground, with 75 wounded. Many parked up Coastal Command aircraft have been destroyed. 5 Blackburn Sharks, 5 Fairey Swordfish, 5 Fairey Albacores, and a Percival Proctor. Another 26 aircraft are damaged. While the loss of life and aircraft is significant, the loss of Coastal Command aircraft is of less strategic importance than the need to preserve Spitfires and Hurricanes to defend the skies above Britain to prevent invasion. Likewise, the Luftwaffe lost 30 aircraft in an endeavour against what turned out to be Coastal Command airfields, and a radar capability that was only mildly inconvenienced. The raid is a clear defeat for the Luftwaffe. The final major raid of the day begins at around 5 PM, a simpler goal than the earlier raids. Formations of bombers with fighter escort will hit RAF Hornchurch and RAF North Weald. The 58 DO-17s heading for Hornchurch and the 51 HE-111s for North Weald are aiming to cross the English coastline at approximately the same time on the way to their targets, so as to split the RAF response. The Heinkel's have a longer flight to North Weald, so leave 15 minutes earlier. They give the east coast of England a safe distance. Bf-109 and Bf-110 fighters totalling 140 escort the bomber groups. As the mass of German aircraft are detected, the RAF controllers begin to scramble squadrons. Some are ordered to patrol the Margate-Canterbury line, and the remainder are to patrol and defend the local fighter command airfields. KG-53, the Heinkel's heading for North Weald, head directly north to avoid making landfall until the last moment, and then turn west when they're parallel to the target. Bf-110 twin-engine fighters escort this group because they have longer range than the single-engined Bf-109. Providing close escort in the 110 is perilous because they're having to throttle back to a slow speed to stay with the bombers. The first interceptors to smash into the enemy formation are 12 Hurricanes from 56 Squadron and 12 Spitfires from 54 Squadron. As it becomes clear that RAF North Weald is the target, another 4 RAF squadrons are vectored into the melee. At this point during the German bombing campaign against Britain, indiscriminate bombing of civilians is forbidden. As the group of attackers approaches North Weald, it becomes clear that the cloud cover is far worse than forecast, and bombing the airfield is impossible. The attack is aborted, and the group makes a left turn to the southeast to head for home. As they retreat, they are punished by the chasing fighters. Meanwhile, to the south, the Dorniers en route to Hornchurch arrive at the same conclusion regarding the weather and turn for home. The group has been harassed by 15 Spitfires on its way across Kent, losing 5 aircraft. The evening assault is an unquestionable disaster for the Luftwaffe. No bombers reach their target. They jettison their bomb load at the earliest opportunity in attempts to gain height and speed to evade the relentless mauling of the RAF. However, 12 Group, RAF, responsible for defending the English Midlands, show embarrassing efficiency when intercepting KG-53 heading for North Weald. Of the 45 12 Group fighters scrambled, only 3 found and engaged the enemy. The majority of success against KG-53 was that of 11 Group. Later in the evening, RAF Bomber Command sends 60 Blenheims and Whitleys to attack targets in northern France and Holland, the Fiat factories in Turin in Italy, and the aluminium works in Rheinfelden in Germany. Luftwaffe bomber units hit cities across Britain with minimal success. Despite being outnumbered throughout the hardest day, the RAF has lost 40 aircraft in combat against an estimated 70 Luftwaffe aircraft lost. Another 28 were destroyed on the ground during the bombing. This would be the largest number of aircraft lost in a single day during the Battle of Britain. Of the 403 sorties flown by the RAF, 320 made contact with the enemy. The effective use of radar and the efficient command and control system within the RAF led to this excellent 80% intercept rate. Frontline squadrons in the southeast took the brunt of the battle. The busiest was 43 Squadron, armed with Hurricanes, flying 63 sorties, 5 sorties per aircraft throughout the day. The day was a strategic loss for the Luftwaffe, whose rate of attrition was becoming critical. 2 days after the hardest day, Winston Churchill would give tribute to the fighter pilots, the few. Young men of average age of 20 from Britain, the Commonwealth, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and other nations, who, undaunted by odds, were turning the tide of the World War with their devotion and prowess.